even after you doing an MBA, it doesn't make sure or it doesn't guarantee that the money will come, right?
Yeah, it
In the
doesn't.
kind of roles that you probably are taking up.
Especially in branded companies, consumer branded companies, because they believe working for a brand itself is payback.
Do you think that that sentiment is still relevant? Because you probably have worked and you probably also have hired from B schools during your stints in Amazon or HUL or whatnot. I mean, we are going to go into the different companies. I might also forget in the journey as to how many companies you have worked on. But yeah, I mean, do you think the sentiment has changed or is it the same for marketing and sales jobs?
For the MBAs,
For the MBAs, yes.
the MBAs that I've interviewed in my companies have always wanted to join our companies because of the brand. Right? I have unless I couldn't pick it up. But money to the people that I've interviewed has been secondary. They really want to build a brand. And it's not like consumer companies don't pay that well. They pay well, but they just pay more afterwards.
Once they know that you are capable of, taking the brand from point A to point B, is when this investment from the company also comes into the.
No, the investment comes as you keep getting promoted, marketing manager, director, and so on. Salaries keep increasing. But at an entry level, Amazon versus a HUL versus a Nestle, Amazon will pay way better. Amazon, Meta, Google, Morgan Stanley, they will pay way better. McKinsey. So consumer goods per se pay lesser.
When we were speaking, you were telling me that a 0 to 50 kind of a story is L'Oreal.
Yes.
And I want you to tell our audience that particular story as to what happened in L'Oreal when you were building with L'Oreal in India. Anything that has stayed with you that you probably think that this is an insight that I probably will use after 20 years of having that information there?
Yes. So in L'Oreal, when I was working on Garnier, which was a skincare brand, we wanted to, now L'Oreal is a category builder, right? So wherever they enter, they build the category from scratch. Now India at that time, this is 2000, was a market where people only bought fairness creams, talcum powder, and cold creams, all dominated by Unilever. And one way to find out that a category is not being disrupted is by looking at the support system. So Nielsen is the support system that measures the market, right? They have, let's say, a panel of shops. They go to the shops and they measure the category size and what is the market share. And people live and die by Nielsen shares. People lose jobs if Nielsen shares go down, right? So when we went to Nielsen, we said, we want to buy the skincare category makeup. They said, oh, there are only 3 categories in India. We only measure 3 categories because our biggest client only buys 3 categories. And we said, but this is ripe for disruption. It means we can launch face wash and face scrub and face mask. Can you believe in 2000, Nielsen never reported face wash, face mask, face scrub, anti-wrinkle cream, just a basic moisturizer, sunscreen, nothing was reported. So this is marketing myopia. Unilever said, we don't need to be in these categories. We are doing so well in these 3. So we actually went to, let's say, 15 shops, and we bought all the skincare products that were being sold. There were face washes being sold. There were other products being sold, but by local players and so on, or by international guys. Estee Lauder had come in, Revlon was trying to come in. And so we did a market mapping, and instead of 3, we created 16 categories. And we told Nielsen, please start measuring these, including, and we created the anti-wrinkle category from scratch. So that's the first story of how you go from 0 to 50. And all these new brands like Mamaearth, Minimalist, that's what they do. They look at the long tail of search and they look for null results. So wherever a consumer is not getting a product, let's say vitamin C serum 5 years ago, they learned from Korea there is a vitamin C serum. Indians were searching for it, there was no brand, and they launched it, right? So that's what happens. Then how do you launch a product? So in L'Oreal, what we used to do, and the best way to learn is to sit with leaders and watch how they think. And you don't get that in an MBA, and I'm in no way dissing an MBA. I mean, that was my foundation and stepping stone. But what my leaders used to do in L'Oreal is, okay, fine, we have to launch an anti-wrinkle cream. So we had products on the table. Touch and feel is so important. We saw every product was pink, every product was a tube, everything was white and smelt a certain way. We did everything opposite. We had a jar which was glass. We had international fragrances. Of course, we were white. Everything was pink. We were green. The Garnier color was green. Everyone took a celebrity. We refused to take a celebrity. So every point of product design, we disrupted and did the opposite. And that's how we built a brand. So let's say when we were launching, if something would have been in jar, we would launch a cream, a tube. So that's how you go from 0 to 50.
Right, and when you're going from 0 to 50, there probably are moments when you think that, what are they doing? They are going against what is happening in the trend. Because we all, I mean, let's be honest, we all like to be in the trend, like, and that's why it's the same thing again and again and again that comes out. And that's something that comes from social media, our biases, the kind of consumption that we do and all that, right? How do you avoid that? In a more socially, bound, that's what we try to think or feel that we are, society, how do you avoid that?
You avoid that by being normally unfamiliar. So you carry something which is familiar, but make it unfamiliar. So you combine, let's say minimalist, right? All their products are these bottles with droppers, right? But their product is retinol with vitamin C serum. That's the familiar part. You're pushing the boundary and saying, I'm pure science. That's why I look like a chemistry bottle. In our collective conscious, there is something about chemistry bottles that's potent, that's pure, it works. So they're taking that familiar bias, making it unfamiliar by applying it to skincare. So that's how you play marketing psychology.
Wow, amazing. Never worked with me with respect to homeopathy bottles though.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because they have homeopathy written on them. Yeah.
So, but let's talk about your journey from 50 as to how it kind of elevated to the next league of things. And we are talking about bigger FMCG brands now in your journey. Tell us what that brand was, where you learned the most, when you actually scaled the most, and you learned that how scaling actually works.
Yes.
Right? For marketing enthusiasts, this probably is a section which they need to keep in mind as well.
Yes. So after L'Oreal, I probably only worked on scale brands then. So Lakme was 30 crores, Close-Up was 300 crores, Maggi was X crores, I can't disclose. But the thing with new brands is that you can be more unfamiliar, right? You can really push the boundary because you don't have that much to lose. Big brands in consumer products have become big because they have memory structures already. So if on a small brand you can use a big lever, on a big brand, even a small lever makes a big difference, right? So on brands like Close-Up and Lakme, which were turnaround stories, we went back to the fundamentals, right? And on Lakme, it was just about visibility, finding a new cultural insight. So big brands are built on cultural insights. You have to observe how vast majority of people are. It's like winning the election. But I always say politicians are the best marketeers in the world. But that's something like what marketeers have to do. So let me give you the example for Lakme and then the example for Close-Up. So big brands start losing relevance either emotionally or functionally. So Lakme skincare had not lost relevance functionally, but emotionally it had started feeling like the bridesmaid to Estee Lauder, Revlon, L'Oreal, Lakme Cosmetics, which was more glamorous for the sales guy to sell. One box of lipsticks is 3,000 rupees, but 50 skincare is 3,000 rupees, right? So it was more ROI for him to sell cosmetics. So it was always the bridesmaid. So what we did was we found a relevant cultural insight for Lakme skincare, which says beautiful women stand in shorter queues, right? It's a cultural truth that all women want to look beautiful. And it's a cultural truth that good-looking people get ahead. I mean, politically incorrect, it's the truth, that's how we are wired. So we picked that for Lakme, and all the advertising on skincare and the entire innovation funnel was talking about seductive beauty. Now and it's also different from all the international brands that were coming in that were all sciencey and performance, and this was just saying, hey, I'm beautiful. I have skin that's smooth enough to touch. I have silky skin and all. So you have to keep away your personal biases as well. Like, I always want to build brands with substance and, oh, women don't have to be beautiful to get. But you have to put that aside and you have to go with what the brand stands for, right? Now, the close-up truth was, if you remember close-up, it was the first gel in the market. It promised fresh breath, white teeth for close-up confidence for opposite sex interactions. So boy-girl interaction was no longer aspirational, right? What was aspirational? Now this was after liberalization. So as a marketeer, you have to really watch the pulse of the nation as well. Youth were saying, I want to build a career, I want to earn money, I want to accost a leader at the airport and ask for a job, right? So what happens, you've got to get up close, fresh breath, white teeth matter. So if you're accosted by a candidate in a lift who comes really close to you and says, sir, mujhe naukri chahiye, and the person has bad breath, you'll say, theek hai yaar, matlab. So first impressions and second impressions become very important. So that's the space we wanted to occupy with close-up. So you see, and at the same time with close-up, Pepsodent had become big, Colgate had become big. People said, but close-up doesn't give me strong teeth. It's just fresh breath. Beautiful women and good-looking things are not substantive. Beautiful women cannot be intelligent. A good-looking toothpaste cannot be performance-oriented, right? It's a cultural truth. So we added vitamin fluoride system to close-up. And we said, ye to strong teeth bhi deta hai, andar se strong. So we turned around both brands. Lakme went from -20 to +19% in 1 year. Just these tweaks compounded through the whole company. The whole company has to believe it. Every sales guy has to believe it. Every ad, every poster has to say it. Same thing on close-up. And the brands turn around. So big companies, when you're like 1,000 crores, 5,000 crores, small tweaks get compounded.
Rashi, you said, are you interested in electoral politics? Because I just had one question that I wanted to ask, but if you're not, then we can.
I don't have depth of insight, but ask away.
What is BJP's marketing strategy?
I think this is a risky question. We'll take it offline.